My name is Linda Crow. I'm 50 years old, and for 14 years, something impossible watched over me, protected me, left me gifts. I'm telling this story now because he's gone, and I need people to understand what happened between us. Not to prove anything, not to convince anyone, just to honor what we shared. In June 2008, I was 34 years old and hiking alone in the backcountry near Glacier National Park in Montana. I was experienced, had been hiking these mountains since I was a teenager. I knew the risks, knew about bears, knew how to carry bear spray, knew to make noise on the trails. But sometimes, knowledge isn't enough. I was about 8 miles into a solo hike when it happened. I came around a bend in the trail, and there he was. A massive grizzly bear, maybe 600 pounds, 15 feet away. We saw each other at the same moment. I did everything right, didn't run, made myself look big, spoke in a calm, low voice, started backing away slowly. The bear charged anyway. People who haven't experienced it can't understand the speed. A grizzly can cover 100 yards in 6 seconds. I had maybe 15 feet. I went for my bear spray, didn't even get it out of the holster. The impact was like being hit by a car. I went down hard, face in the dirt, the bear on top of me. Then the pain, claws raking down my back, tearing through my jacket, my shirt, my skin. The weight was crushing. I couldn't breathe. I remember thinking, this is how I die. The bear bit down on my shoulder. I felt bones crack, screamed. Then he threw me, literally threw me, and I hit a tree 6 feet away. I was on the ground, bleeding, barely conscious. The bear was coming back to finish it. I could see him through blurred vision, standing on his hind legs, massive, blocking out the sun. Then something hit him. I heard it before I saw it. A sound like thunder, like a tree falling. The bear went sideways, knocked completely off his feet by something I couldn't process. 2 figures. The bear and something else. Something bigger. They fought. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, but felt like forever. Sounds I'll never forget. Roaring, snarling, the crack of bones breaking. Then silence. I was fading in and out. Losing blood, going into shock. But I saw it. The bear was on the ground, neck twisted at an impossible angle. Dead, and standing over it was something that shouldn't exist. 9 feet tall, maybe more. Covered in dark brown fur. Massive shoulders, arms like tree trunks. Not a bear. Not human. Something else. It turned and looked at me. I should have been terrified. But I was too far gone. Too close to dying to care anymore. The creature stared at me for a long moment with eyes that were unmistakably intelligent. Then it turned and walked into the forest. Just disappeared into the trees like smoke. I passed out. I woke up to voices, search and rescue. Someone had reported me overdue. They'd been looking for 12 hours. They found me 20 feet from a dead grizzly with a broken neck. How did you kill it? One of the rescuers asked, staring at the bear. I didn't, I managed to say. Something else did. What else? I didn't answer. Partly because I wasn't sure they'd believe me. Partly because I wasn't sure I believed it myself. They airlifted me to Kalispell Regional Medical Center. Emergency surgery. 4 hours on the table. The damage was extensive. Deep lacerations across my back and shoulder. 3 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, severe blood loss. But I survived. The doctor said I was lucky. Lucky the bear hadn't gone for my head. Lucky the wounds weren't deeper. Lucky someone found me in time. They had no explanation for the dead bear. The Park Service investigated, found the body, confirmed the broken neck. Their report said, unknown cause, possibly territorial fight with another bear. But I'd seen what killed it. and it wasn't another bear. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital, then 2 months in physical therapy. The scars on my back are still there. Long, raised lines where the claws tore through muscle. I can't raise my left arm above my head anymore. Cold weather makes everything ache. Small prices to pay for being alive. I dealt with PTSD, nightmares about the attack, panic attacks when I saw nature documentaries with bears. Therapy helped, but some things you just learn to live with. By September, I was home, living in my small house outside of Whitefish, Montana, trying to rebuild my life, trying to forget. Then, 3 weeks after I got home, I found the rabbit. It was on my front doorstep, dead but fresh. No rigor mortis, no smell. Its neck was broken cleanly, no other wounds, no blood. Just placed there, deliberately. I stared at it, confused. A fox. A cat. It was too large for a cat to carry, and foxes don't break necks that cleanly. I threw it in the woods, tried not to think about it. 2 days later, another rabbit. Same condition, same placement. Then a squirrel. Then another rabbit. Every few days, a small animal would appear on my doorstep. Always with broken necks, always fresh, always carefully placed, not thrown or dropped. Someone, or something, was leaving me gifts. After the 4th animal, I checked for tracks. That's when I found the footprints. In the soft dirt beside my porch, clear as day, massive prints, 18 inches long, 5 toes, human-shaped but impossibly large. The same thing that killed the bear. It had followed me home, and it was leaving me food. I should have been terrified, should have called the police, moved away, done something. But I wasn't scared. Not really. Because deep down, I understood. Whatever that creature was, it had saved my life. And now, for reasons I couldn't understand, it was still protecting me. The question was, why? Did it think it owed me something? Or did it think I owed it? And what would happen if I tried to find out? The animals kept coming. Through fall 2008, into winter, into 2009. Rabbits mostly, but also squirrels, once a grouse. Twice I found larger game. A young deer, throat crushed, dragged to my back door. I stopped throwing them away. Started accepting them. I'd take the meat, process what I could, bury the rest respectfully. It felt important to honor the gifts, even if I didn't understand them. The footprints appeared regularly after rain or snow, always circling my property, never approaching the house directly, but close enough to make his presence known. He was watching me, constantly. I started finding other signs, branches broken at specific heights, too high for deer, too deliberate to be weather. Arranged in patterns around my property line like markers, territorial boundaries. Large stones moved, creating a perimeter I hadn't made. He was, what, guarding me? Claiming me? I didn't know. My friends thought I was losing it. Linda, it's just wildlife. You're seeing patterns because of the trauma. But they didn't see the prints, didn't see how methodical everything was. I told my sister once. She suggested therapy, medication. Gently implied I was having a breakdown. I stopped talking about it. But I started researching. Sasquatch sightings in Montana. Behavioral patterns, indigenous stories about forest people. The Salish tribes had legends about them. Giant beings who lived in the mountains, who sometimes helped humans, sometimes punished those who disrespected nature. One story stuck with me. A Salish woman saved by one of these beings from a cougar attack. The creature watched over her family for the rest of her life. Leaving game, protecting their home. The tribe believed the creature felt responsible for her after saving her life. A debt. A self-imposed obligation. Was that what this was? I started leaving things for him. Food at first, bread, dried meat, fruit. They'd disappear overnight. So I left other things. A blanket during a cold snap. Tools, salt licks, all taken. And always, more game would appear in return. We had an exchange. A relationship, strange as it was. Years passed. 2010, 2011, 2012. The pattern continued, became routine. Part of my life. I adjusted. Stopped dating. How do you explain to someone that Bigfoot watches your house? Spent more time alone, working from home, living quietly. My family worried. But I was not happy exactly, but content. I wasn't alone, wasn't unprotected. In 2013, my house was broken into while I was visiting family for Thanksgiving. Vandals. Teenagers, probably, looking for easy targets in rural areas. They smashed my back window, trashed my living room, stole my TV and laptop. I came home to destruction, called the police, filed a report. They said they'd investigate, but weren't optimistic. 2 days later, I heard screaming outside. Ran out to find 3 teenage boys running from the tree line toward the road, absolutely terrified. One was crying. They got to their car, parked, down the road, partially hidden, and tried to start it. The hood had been torn off, engine destroyed, tires slashed. The boys abandoned the car and ran on foot, didn't even come back for it. Police found the car the next day. Inside, my laptop. My TV was in the trunk. The boys turned themselves in a week later, confessed to multiple burglaries. When the sheriff asked about my property specifically, one of them said, "There was something in those woods, something that chased us. We're not going back there, ever." The sheriff thought they'd encountered a bear. I knew better. He'd protected my home while I was gone, tracked down the thieves, returned my property, terrified them so badly they confessed to everything. That's when I really understood. This wasn't just routine. This was active protection, guardianship. Whatever debt he felt, real or imagined, he took it seriously. In 2015, 7 years after the attack, I saw him clearly for the first time since that day in the forest. It was dusk. I was on my back porch, reading. I felt that familiar sensation, being watched. I looked up. He was standing at the tree line, maybe 50 yards away. Not hiding, just standing there, watching. I could see him fully in the fading light. Massive, 8, maybe 9 feet tall, broad shoulders, long arms, covered in dark brown fur that was graying around the face and chest. He was old, scarred. One eye looked cloudy. He moved stiffly, like his joints hurt. This wasn't a young, powerful creature. This was an elderly being, near the end of his life, still watching over me. My throat tightened. "Thank you," I said out loud. My voice carried across the clearing. "Thank you for saving me, for protecting me." He tilted his head, listening. We stayed like that for several minutes. Him watching, me watching back. Then he turned slowly and walked into the forest. After that, I saw him occasionally. Never close, always at the tree line. A presence, a shadow, a guardian. I started talking to him sometimes when I knew he was near. Told him about my day, my life. Crazy? Probably. But therapeutic. I'm going into town today. I'll be back by evening. The winter's hard this year. I left extra food by the old stump. I'm okay. You don't have to worry. I don't know if he understood my words, but I think he understood my tone, my intent. We had communication. Not language, but something deeper. Mutual acknowledgement of each other's existence. By 2018, 10 years after he'd saved me, I realized I'd spent more consistent time with him, even at a distance, than with any human in my life. That should have been sad. Somehow, it wasn't. When I was diagnosed with a cancer scare that year, turned out to be benign, but terrifying while it was happening, I told him. Sat on my porch and spoke to the forest. I have to go away for a while, to the hospital, for tests. I'll be back, I promise. While I was gone for a week, my neighbor called. Linda, there's something around your property. I heard sounds. Saw something large moving through the trees. Want me to call Fish and Wildlife? No, I said quickly. It's fine. He's watching the house for me. The bear. Local bear. He's harmless. Silence on the other end. Then, okay, if you say so. When I came home, my house was untouched, but I found new markers around the property. Fresh, broken branches, recent prints. He'd been there every day I was gone, making sure everything was safe. I sat on my porch and cried. Thank you, I whispered to the forest. Thank you for being here. A sound came back, low, resonant, acknowledgement. By 2020, 12 years in, I'd accepted this was my life. Possibly forever. He'd watch over me until one of us died. I'd stopped trying to explain it to anyone. Stopped caring if people thought I was crazy. This was real. This mattered. This was a relationship, unlike anything anyone else had experienced. A human and a Sasquatch, living parallel lives, connected by a moment of violence that had somehow transformed into years of mutual care. I didn't know who owed who anymore. Maybe neither of us owed anything. Maybe this had evolved past debt into something else. Friendship, companionship, family in the strangest sense. Then, in early 2022, everything changed. He stopped coming. February 2022. 2 weeks without any sign of him. No prints in the snow, no gifts at my door, no sense of being watched. At first, I tried to rationalize it. Heavy snow that month. Brutal cold, temperatures dropping to -20 at night. Maybe he was hunkered down somewhere, conserving energy, waiting for better weather. But 3 weeks became 4, then 5, then 6. The silence was unbearable. For 14 years, I'd lived with his constant presence. I'd wake up every morning knowing he was out there somewhere, watching over me. I'd go to sleep feeling protected. Even when I couldn't see him, couldn't hear him, I felt him. And now, nothing. The forest felt empty, dead, like something vital had been removed, and only the shell remained. I started checking the tree line obsessively. Multiple times a day, scanning for movement, looking for prints, listening for sounds. Nothing. I left food at our usual spots. It stayed there, untouched, until animals scattered it or weather ruined it. I called out to the forest. Are you there? Are you okay? Please, let me know you're all right. Only silence answered. By mid-March, the worry had transformed into something darker. Grief, loss, the terrible certainty that something was very wrong. I couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, couldn't shake the feeling that he needed me and I was failing him by staying away. He'd spent 14 years watching over me. The least I could do was find him, make sure he was okay. Or if he wasn't, be there for him the way he'd been there for me. On March 18th, I packed a serious backpack. Tent, sleeping bag rated for cold weather, food for 5 days, first aid kit, water filtration, emergency beacon. I told my neighbor I was going hiking, might be gone a few days, and if I wasn't back in a week to call search and rescue. She looked at me like I was crazy. Linda, you're 50 years old with a bad back. Solo hiking in March? I have to, I said simply. I started at the tree line behind my property, following the paths I'd seen him take over the years, looking for signs, anything. The first day I found his old shelter, the thicket I'd discovered before. Abandoned, cold, obviously unused for weeks. But it gave me a starting point. I found old territorial markers, trees with claw marks, now weathered, broken branches from months ago, rock cairns he'd built. I was following a ghost trail, but it was something. The terrain got rougher, steeper. I was climbing into areas I'd never been, into wilderness that maybe no human had visited in years. My back protested every step. The old scars ached in the cold. But I kept going. That night, I camped in the snow, huddled in my tent, listening to the forest, hoping to hear something, his vocalizations, his footsteps, any sign, nothing. The second day was harder. The trail was getting colder, fewer signs. At one point, I thought I'd lost it entirely and had to backtrack 2 miles to pick it up again. But I found prints, old ones, partially filled with blown snow, but unmistakably his, leading higher into the mountains. He'd been heading somewhere specific, with purpose. I followed. By evening of the second day, my supplies were running low, and I was exhausted. My back was screaming. I'd pushed myself too hard, but I couldn't stop. Something drove me forward, the same instinct that tells you when someone you love is in trouble. The third day, the trail led me to a steep hillside covered in thick brush and deadfall, nearly impassable. I had to crawl in places, squeeze through gaps, fight my way through. That's when I saw it. Hidden behind all that brush, the entrance to a cave. And in the snow near the entrance, fresh prints. Recent, within the last day or two. My heart started pounding. "Hello?" I called out. "It's me, it's Linda. Are you in there?" No response. I approached the entrance slowly. It was narrow. I had to turn sideways to squeeze through. But it opened into a larger chamber inside. Dim, but not pitch black. Light filtered down through cracks in the rock ceiling. The smell hit me first. Musky. Animal. But also something else. Sickness. Decay. My eyes adjusted to the dimness. And there, at the back of the cave, I saw him. He was lying on his side on a makeshift bed of moss, pine boughs, and old firs. His massive body looked smaller somehow, diminished. His fur was matted, dull. His breathing was shallow, labored. "Oh, God," I whispered. I moved closer slowly. "Hey, it's me. I came to find you." His good eye opened. The other was completely milky now, blind. He looked at me for a long moment, and I saw recognition, saw something that might have been relief. He made a sound, soft, weak, so different from the powerful vocalizations I had heard from him over the years. He was dying. I could see it clearly now. This wasn't just old age or winter weakness. He was at the end. Days, maybe hours left. Tears blurred my vision. I'm here now. You're not alone." I sat down beside him, close enough to touch, but waiting for permission. He was still massive. Even dying, even lying down, he was 3 times my size. Slowly, carefully, he moved his hand toward me. Palm up, an invitation. I took his hand in both of mine. His skin was rough, calloused, warm despite everything. His hand engulfed mine completely. "You've been watching over me for 14 years, I said, voice breaking. "Since that day in the forest, you saved my life from that bear. And then you never stopped protecting me." He made a rumbling sound, his version of acknowledgement. "I need you to understand something," I continued. "You don't owe me anything. You never did. That debt you felt, it was never real. Or if it was, you paid it back 1,000 times over. His eye focused on my face, listening. You gave me 14 years of companionship, of protection, of knowing I wasn't alone in this world. You gave me gifts. You guarded my home. You watched over me when I was sick. You scared away people who would hurt me. I was crying openly now. You changed my entire life, made me understand the connection can exist in the strangest places, between the most unlikely beings. His hand squeezed mine gently. I don't know why you did this, I said. I don't know if you felt obligated, or if you cared about me, or if it was something in your culture I'll never understand. But it doesn't matter. What matters is that you were there, and I'm grateful. Every single day, I was grateful. He made another sound, softer, almost peaceful. I'm going to stay here with you, I told him, for as long as you need. You don't have to die alone, I promise. And I did stay. I sat beside him for hours, holding his hand, talking to him quietly. I told him about my life, about the things I'd seen and done over the 14 years he'd watched me. Told him about the peace he'd given me, the strange, impossible friendship we'd built without words. His breathing got slower, more irregular. I told him about the first rabbit he'd left me, how confused I'd been. Told him about the night I'd seen him at the tree line for the first time, and how beautiful and terrifying he'd looked. Told him about the day I realized he'd protected my home from the vandals, and how that was the moment I understood this wasn't just routine for him. It was devotion. You cared about me, I said. Didn't you? This wasn't just obligation. You actually cared. His eye opened one more time, looked directly at me, and I saw it there, clear as anything I'd ever seen. Yes, he cared. I cared about you too, I whispered. I still do. You were my friend, the best friend I ever had. His chest rose and fell, rose and fell, each breath longer between than the last. Around sunset, the light from the cracks above turning orange and gold, he took one more deep breath. His hand squeezed mine one final time, then his chest went still. I sat there holding his hand for a long time after, crying in the dimming light, saying goodbye, thanking him over and over for everything he'd been to me. When full darkness came, I finally let go of his hand. I couldn't move his body. He was far too large, must have weighed 800 pounds or more. But I couldn't leave him exposed either. It felt disrespectful. I spent the next several hours in darkness, using my headlamp, gathering rocks from inside the cave and from outside on the hillside. Large ones, small ones, whatever I could carry. I covered his body, layer by layer, rock by rock, creating a cairn, a burial mound. My hands were cut and bleeding. My back was agony. But I kept going until he was completely covered, protected. When I was finished, I sat back against the cave wall, exhausted, and looked at what I'd built. A monument to something the world would never believe existed. A memorial to a friendship no one would understand. I slept in the cave that night, near his burial, keeping him company one last time. In the morning, I marked the cave entrance with a specific pattern of stacked rocks and broken branches, something only I would recognize, so I could find it again. Then I began the long hike back to my house. It took me 3 days. I was exhausted, dehydrated, my back screaming with every step. But I made it. When I reached my property, I stood at the tree line where I'd seen him so many times. The forest was silent, empty, no presence watching, no sense of protection, just ordinary wilderness. The 14-year vigil was over. He was gone, and I was alone. The months after his death were the hardest of my life. Harder than recovering from the bear attack. Harder than the years of isolation and strange looks from people who thought I was crazy. Because this time, I was truly alone. For 14 years, I'd had a constant companion. Silent, distant, but always there. A presence that made the wilderness feel less empty, my life feel less solitary. Now there was nothing. Just silence. I went through the motions of normal life. Worked, ate, slept. But everything felt hollow. I'd catch myself leaving food at the old spots, forgetting for a moment that he was gone. I'd hear a sound in the forest and turn, expecting to see him at the tree line. The disappointment when reality crashed back was crushing every time. My neighbor noticed. "You seem different lately. Sad. Are you okay?" "I lost a friend," I said. It was the truth, even if she couldn't understand what kind of friend. "I'm sorry. Do you want to talk about it?" "No," I said. "But thank you." How could I explain? How could I tell anyone that I was mourning a Sasquatch who'd spent 14 years watching over me, and that his death had left a hole in my life that nothing could fill? In June 2022, 3 months after he died, I hiked back to the cave. Brought flowers, wildflowers from my property, the kind that grew near the tree line where he used to stand. I placed them on the cairn I'd built. "I miss you," I said to the rocks. "I miss knowing you're out there. I miss the gifts. I miss feeling protected. I miss you." The cave was silent, but being there brought a strange comfort. This was where he'd ended his life, where he'd waited for me, where we'd said goodbye. I started going back once a month, a pilgrimage, bringing flowers, sitting with him, talking to him. Crazy? Absolutely. But it helped. In September, 6 months after his death, I made a decision. I was going to tell someone, tell the truth. Not to prove anything, not to convince skeptics, but because his story deserved to be told. Our story deserved to exist somewhere beyond just my memory. I reached out to a podcast that covered unexplained phenomena. Told them I had a Sasquatch encounter story, a long one, spanning 14 years. They were interested. The interview happened in October 2022. 2 hours of me telling everything. The bear attack, the rescue, the gifts, the protection, the 14 years of companionship, his death. I cried during parts of it. The host was respectful, asked thoughtful questions, didn't mock me. When it aired in November, the response was mixed. Thousands of people listened. Some believed me, many didn't. The comments ranged from supportive to cruel. This woman experienced real trauma and created an elaborate fantasy to cope. Obviously suffering from PTSD and isolation-induced delusions. Either the best hoax I've ever heard or the most incredible true story ever told. I believe her. The emotion in her voice is real. Something happened to her. The skeptics focused on the lack of evidence. No photos, no video, no physical proof beyond my word. And they were right. I had nothing concrete, just memories and scars, and a cairn in a cave that no one else could find. But I also had believers, people who'd had their own experiences, who'd seen things in the wilderness they couldn't explain, who understood that some truths exist beyond evidence. One message stood out, from a woman in Oregon. My grandfather told a similar story. Said one of the forest people saved him from drowning in 1952 and watched over his family for years. Everyone thought he was senile. But I believed him, and I believe you. Thank you for being brave enough to share this. That message made everything worth it. In December 2022, I went back to the cave one last time before winter made it inaccessible. brought a letter I'd written. Sealed in a waterproof container, I read it out loud before placing it on the cairn. To anyone who finds this, beneath these rocks is the body of a being who shouldn't exist according to science. But he did exist. He lived. He thought. He felt. He protected someone he didn't have to protect. He gave gifts he didn't have to give. He devoted 14 years of his life to watching over a human who'd stumbled into his territory. His name, the name I gave him, since I never learned his real one, doesn't matter. What matters is that he was here. He was real. He was intelligent and caring and loyal beyond anything I've ever known. If you find this, please respect this burial. Please don't disturb it. Please don't try to prove what he was. Let him rest in peace. Let this place remain sacred. He gave me 14 years of companionship. I owe him at least the dignity of an undisturbed grave. Thank you. And goodbye, my friend. You'll never be forgotten. I placed the container on top of the cairn, secured it with rocks, and left. That was 14 months ago. I still go back, but less frequently now, every few months. The grief has softened into something gentler. Acceptance, gratitude. My life has changed since I told the story publicly. Some people recognize me now. Stop me in town, ask questions. Some are kind, some think I'm insane. I've learned to be okay with both. I've connected with other people who claim to have had similar experiences. Long-term contact with Sasquatch. Relationships built over years. Most are afraid to share their stories publicly. I understand why. But I've also learned I'm not alone in this experience. There are others who've built these impossible bonds, who've been protected, watched over, gifted by creatures that science says don't exist. We have a small community now. We share our stories privately, support each other, validate each other's experiences when the rest of the world dismisses us. Last month, in January 2024, something happened that I'm still processing. I was on my back porch at dusk, reading, the same spot where I used to see him at the tree line. I felt it, that old familiar sensation, being watched. I looked up, nothing at the tree line, empty forest. But then I saw it, movement deeper in, something large standing in the shadows between trees. Not him. It couldn't be him, but something. I stood slowly, stared at the spot. The figure didn't move, didn't approach, just stood there, watching. My heart was pounding. "Hello," I called out. No response, but the figure shifted slightly, acknowledging. We stood like that for maybe 5 minutes. Me on my porch, it in the forest, watching each other. Then it turned and disappeared into the deeper woods. I haven't seen it since. Haven't found prints or gifts or signs. But I keep wondering, was it real? Was there another one? Had he told others about me before he died? Was this his family, checking on me, making sure I was okay? Or was it my imagination, my grief-stricken mind creating what I wanted to see? I don't know. Maybe I'll never know. But I'd like to think it was real. That somewhere out there others know what he did for me. That they remember him. That maybe, in their way, they're honoring the relationship we had by occasionally checking in on the human he protected. That would be comforting. People ask me sometimes, do you regret telling your story, knowing most people don't believe you? No, I don't regret it. Because belief isn't the point. Proof isn't the point. The point is that it happened. That for 14 years, I experienced something extraordinary. That a being from a different species saved my life and then chose, for whatever reason, to stay connected to me, to protect me, to care about me. That relationship was real. The companionship was real. The grief, when it ended, was real. And by telling the story, I've honored him, given him a legacy beyond just the cairn in that cave. Made sure that somewhere, in some form, people know he existed, that he mattered, that he was more than just a legend or a mystery or a cryptid. He was a person. Different, but a person. And he was my friend. The best friend I ever had. I'm 50 years old now. I'll probably live another 20, 30 years if I'm lucky. I'll spend those years going back to that cave periodically, tending his grave, talking to him, making sure he's not forgotten, and maybe, occasionally seeing shadows in the forest that might be others, watching, remembering, honoring the strange bond between human and Sasquatch that lasted 14 years. I don't know who owed who in the end. Maybe neither of us owed anything. Maybe it stopped being about debt years ago and became something else entirely. Love, loyalty, friendship, family. The words don't quite fit. The relationship was too strange, too unprecedented to have a proper name. But it was real. And I'm grateful for every moment of it. To anyone listening who's had a similar experience, you're not alone. You're not crazy. What you experienced was real, even if you can't prove it. To anyone who doesn't believe, that's okay. I don't need you to believe. I just need you to respect that something profound happened to me. Something that changed my life forever. And to him, wherever he is now, whatever happens after death to beings like him. Thank you, for saving me, for watching over me, for giving me 14 years of knowing I wasn't alone. You were the guardian I never asked for but desperately needed. You were the friend I never knew I could have. And I will remember you. Always. Rest in peace, my friend. You're free now. The debt, real or imagined, is paid. Released. Forgiven. You can rest, and so can I.